Welcome to Neppy Invest the World, my initial premiere broadcast of this new exciting venture I'm embarking on. So hopefully you'll join me on my journey. And today I'm going to talk about this exciting small Australian company called SciDev SCIDV. Their ASX ticker code is SDV. Still use ComSec for lots of information. Don't trade through it anymore. So first thing I want to talk about is what they do. So I'm going to go back to April 2020, look at a presentation they do. So the best way to tell you what they do is just to look at a presentation. So essentially what SciDev does is they solve the problem of sludge. So not that exciting of a thing, I suppose. And not exciting as some tech companies, but nonetheless, sludge or slurry is just the byproducts of industrial refining or wastewater treatment processes. So just think of sewage is the main thing I look at or think of. It's a combination of solid and liquid stuff, and you want to separate the solid and liquid elements in sludge. And that's what SciDev is trying to do. And they word it a little bit better than I do in their second page, next generation technology. So that sounds much more exciting than what I said for solids, liquid separation in mining, water and wastewater. And the second thing they mention here is world-class technology. So new next generation technology, world-class technology. Yay for SciDev. The next slide is just some little bit of information. So market cap, shares on issue. And the main thing I like to look at here is major shareholders. So this group called Nua Group, Chinese company, a chemical company. In fact, Nua Group is the world's second largest manufacturer of water-soluble polymers. And the main thing I'm interested in here is 7% ownership. Whether they start to increase that ownership and a takeover is possible. I'm not saying it's possible, but it is definitely a possibility if they start to increase their ownership. I would prefer not for a takeover because I don't think you get maximum value out of that for shareholders. So I would like to see SciDev remain in existence, listed on the ASX for as long as possible to get maximum value out of it. On the right here, just some of the industries they're involved with, finances there, but I'll just bypass that financial statement and just look at this one because the two main things I want to focus on here is the last few quarters. So this is looking at quarters, not yearly information. The reason they're doing this quarterly is just because they're seeing a rapid growth in the last few quarters. So on revenue and cash receipts in the $1 million now, we're looking at between $5 and $7 million in the March 2020 quarter. We've seen one quarter subsequent of this, and it's even more exciting than what we're seeing here. And the other thing is in the March 2020 quarter, operating cash flow, they reported operating cash flow for the very first time, or positive operating cash flow, I should say, for the very first time, which is, in my opinion, is an inflection point, a very important point, and whether they can continue being cash flow positive or operating cash flow positive is very important. The next slide I'll focus on here is this slide here. The two things I want to focus on here is two things they give or produce or have. Optiflox is their process control, and that process control supports their main chemistry, their key chemistry, which is MaxiFlox. So that chemistry, MaxiFlox, you just can't go to the shelf and buy it. So we do not sell off-the-shelf product. So what they do is very exciting with their customers. They sort of, talk to their customers and they look at the specific needs of their customers, and then they try to solve those specific needs or problems of their customers. And once they sort of get into a relationship with their customers, they tend to go into a trial, this 3 to 6 months trial period. And that seems to be where they're getting a lot of their that's where a lot of their customers are in right now, these trial purchases orders. And the whole reason I'm doing this presentation today is in relation to this period, this little period here, trial purchase order. And hopefully if that trial is successful, it becomes a commercial contract year and a half down the road. So hopefully a lot of these trials they're undergoing now will eventually become commercial contracts, and that's where we're going to see significant growth in SciDev. So the next slide is just the science behind solid liquid separation. So there's many processes that you can use: filtration, precipitation, centrifuging, and flocculants and coagulants, which is just some chemical additives. So SciDev is focused on flocculants and coagulants to drive solid separation or solid liquid separation. Just try to find this presentation online, and you can sort of read about the what, where, and why of coagulation and flocculation. It's very exciting stuff. Learn a little bit. I won't bore you into details right now. But the next more exciting things I'll talk about is the global addressable market at the moment. Fairly high, so that's $10 billion worth of addressable market. That's probably going to increase in the future. It's increasing quite rapidly because of these two industry drivers. So clean water requirements. So scarcity of clean water is an issue right now in the world, and it will become an increasing issue as we move forward through the next who knows how many years. And because of the scarcity of clean water, environmental regulations will become more of an issue for mining companies and all these companies that produce a fair bit of sludge. And once those regulations become more of an issue, SciDev it becomes a bigger player at the dinner table, I suppose you could say. Competitors are fairly large, these companies, those 4 companies at the bottom. Look, I won't make assumptions here, but there's a chance that most of those big companies listed there won't even know SciDev exists. Possibly if they do know it, they exist, there's a chance they might become interested in buying them out, or they might even go into partnership with them. So at the moment, I don't think they really know SciDev exists because SciDev is so much smaller. But if they are progressive companies, they should be knowing who their smaller competitors are that are growing quite quickly, which is what SciDev is doing. The next slide just goes back through some of the news announcements over the last year or so. The first one I want to talk about is August 19. They went into partnership with, or not partnership, but they had a contract with Aluka Resources. So Aluka Resources is a $4 billion mining company in Australia. So that's fairly exciting, getting into a partnership with a fairly large mining company. So that contract was worth $8 to $12 million. Then in October 2019 and in January 2020, they acquired 2 companies. So first one, ProSol, was a small, only $1.9 million into the Hunter Coalfields. The second one was more exciting for me. It's Highland Fluid Technologies. So Highland Fluid Technologies is in the oil and gas markets in America. So SciDev is now into that. And the other thing that's really excited me is on the next slide here, 2 points made. So in the oil and gas market, just this point here, 4 barrels of wastewater are generated by every 1 barrel of oil produced. So lots of wastewater is produced in oil production. So of course there's going to be regulations with that. And you can just see the next point they make is, I've already mentioned this, water scarcity and increasing regulations are driving the need for SciDev moving forward. So very exciting field or market SciDev is in right now. So that's all I want to talk about right now with SciDev, or this presentation. Over the last few months, what have been some of the more exciting or significant news reports in regards to SDV? So every 3 months, companies like SDV need to produce what's called an Appendix 4C, or a quarterly cash flow statement. 14th of July here, they released one at 9:45 a.m. I love these statements. You get so much information, especially what SciDev does. So the whole point of these statements is to give you an idea of whether there's cash flow coming in or leaving the company. But they also give a lot of information about what they've been doing over the last 3 months or so. And SciDev definitely does that. You can just see there's a lot of information. So have a look for this the last 4Cs, and in the future have a look at the follow-up 4Cs to get a lot of information about what they're doing. But right at the end is what I really hone in on when I get to these 4Cs. So two numbers I really pay close attention to is these receipts from customers. So this is the cash coming in. So $8.2 million cash coming in. And then right at the bottom, 1.9 is whether this company is cash flow positive or operational cash flow positive or negative. So they had $1.85 million of cash flow coming into the company, not leaving the company. And I love 4Cs to the fact that every 3 months, when all these 4Cs come in for all these companies, I write them down in a spreadsheet and I can see the trend of whether companies are increasing cash flow or increasing receipts. So that's the main thing I'm looking at here. These numbers here are cash receipts every quarter. So here it is SDV. Bring it to the middle of the screen, SDV. So I started reporting in their cash receipts or 4Cs in April 2017 with $453 coming in. Not much movement over the next 2 years. They went from 453 in April 2017 to 766 in July 2019. So not much of an increase, but then we have seen a rapid increase in cash receipts over the last year. So from July 2019, 766 to July 2020, 8.2 million. That's a 10-fold increase in cash receipts. That's a massive increase in cash. And I call this an inflection point. So around July 2019, they reached an inflection point between that and October 19, and the market really got onto this. And I'll just show you just by looking at the chart. So I am a dual fundamentalist and a technical analysis. Yeah, so I look at fundamentalist looks at the news flow, the financials. A technical analysis looks at the chart. In fact, some technical people don't even know what a company does, and some fundamental analysis wouldn't even know how to read a chart. I think if you combine the two, know what a company does, and look at the chart, the benefits of that are far outweigh the negatives. So we'll go back to July 2019. So here we are, July 2019. This is just looking at candlestick charts, or candlestick each day. So looking at open, close, high and low of the day. So, and I've got here 3 moving averages, the 20, 50 and 100. And on the bottom here, I've got volume. So I'm looking at for volume spikes. I'm looking at changes in sentiment. And you'll just see moving averages shows you if they starts increasing, changes in sentiment, and volume increasing also is a good sign of change in sentiment. So if you just go back to July 19, we saw a rapid increase of volume spike in the middle of June, which may have been nothing. We saw a bit of an increase in volume at the start of July, and that corresponded to an increase in share price. Then we saw a decrease in share price or contraction on low volume, very important. And then we see a rapid increase in share price on high volume. That's all the signs of of a very bullish run. And over the next 3 or 4 months, we saw the share price increase from 7 cents all the way up to 70 cents. So a 10-fold increase in share price just based off what you can see here. So you can see very low volume here, first half of this chart period, and then really increasing volume. So people were getting excited. And I mentioned it reached an inflection point with the financials in between July and October. You can definitely see that on the chart. So the market cotton really got onto this story of SDV. And since then, we've seen share price continue to go up before we got into the pandemic. Bit of a shift in sentiment and then a rapid shift back into neutral sentiment. Over the last few months or so, we've seen the moving averages come together, especially in the last month. This is a sign of decreasing volatility. So when these moving averages come together, decreasing volatility means decreasing volume. Not much is happening. Bulls aren't winning, bears aren't winning. What I'm looking for here is a shift in sentiment, and a shift in sentiment either way And we had that on the 13th of August. We had a large update on increasing volume, and that large increasing volume was a bullish sign, and then we've seen it follow through over the next 5 or 6 trading periods up until today, where we saw an increase in volume on an increasing share price, 18.24%. So why did we see that today? And the reason we saw that today was an announcement they released of a new trial with Olympic Dam. So Olympic Dam, I'm not much of a miner, but I've heard of Olympic Dam. A lot of Australians would have heard of Olympic Dam. It's one of the largest mines in Australia. It's owned by BHP. So BHP has a market cap of $115 billion. So it's one of the largest mining companies on the planet. The fact that this company, small Australian company, has gone into partnership with one of the world's largest mining companies is why the market got excited today. And it's really exciting news. And hopefully this will drive the share price forward as we go through. So what I'm looking for over the next few days is share price to move sideways with time, which will be very bullish. Keeps going up, that's even more bullish, but I would like it to be more sideways in movement. Share price goes down in price over the next few days on increasing volume. That's less bullish. Would be disappointed in that. But what I'm looking for is a consolidation period of share price moving sideways. We'll start to see the moving averages go up, and potentially once the moving averages, especially the 20-day moving average, meets the share price, that's when we might see an increase in share price move going forward. So very exciting. August is also reporting season, sort of full year or half year reporting season. So we should see their full year report released in the next 10 days. That should be exciting news too. I'll bring you that when it comes. Also do an update with the share price as we move forward. But that's it for today. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you another day.